Ever wondered if thousands of dollars in top hiking gear will save a total beginner? I've seen expensive kits fail miserably in real world hikes. So in this video, I'm going to show you why flashy gear lists miss the mark, reveal what truly keeps you safe, and share hard-earned lessons from over 30 years of hiking in Tasmania's wildest places. And let's start with the myth of the perfect gear list. The illusion of the perfect gear list. Back when I guided on the overland track back in the day, I'd see the same thing again and again. People would show up at campsites with the latest gear they'd read about in magazines or had been sold in a shop. Brand new tents, never pitched before, first time they're taking them out of the bag. Expensive boots, straight out of the box. Lightweight, waterproof jackets that looked brilliant in theory until Tassie dumped 8 hours of cold rain on them. On day one, everything looked fine. By day two, the cracks appeared. Tents were flapping loose in the wind because they hadn't been set up properly. Blisters had people hobbling because they hadn't broken in their shoes or their boots. Jackets wetted out because they just weren't suitable for the conditions. And that's the illusion. Lists and star ratings don't prepare you for your conditions. And I still see it all the time in the comments today.
Don't wear boots. What are you doing wearing boots? You should be wearing trail runners. Trail runners are lighter. Trail runners are where it's at.
Sure, trail shoes make perfect sense on some trails, but off-track in Tasmania through scarparia scrub and knee-deep mud, they get shredded to bits. I've seen trail shoes pierced by vegetation on a short day walk, just torn to shreds. I've even seen someone lose a trail shoe in the mud during a race that I was running in. Like they were looking for their trail shoe, people helping them. That thing was gone, sucked off in the Tasmanian mud. And we still had about 5-10 kilometres left of very rough terrain. And that's why on big Tasmanian off-track trips, I still go with boots every time. Heavier, yes, but they last and they're not getting sucked off my foot. Here's the thing, chasing the perfect gear list is like hunting unicorns. It sounds magical, but it doesn't exist. That's why I use my scope method, and the E stands for environment-specific tweaks. So the kit you take on one trip might not suit the next. You're always adjusting. Boots for Tassie mud, trail runners for dry tracks. Different amounts of clothing layers for different regions. There's no universal perfect setup. Only what fits this trip. Here's how to make your kit bulletproof. Pitch your tent in the backyard during a storm. Test it out first at home. Break in your footwear on short walks before committing to a lengthy multi-day walk. Take new gear on a shakedown weekend before you trust it on a 10-day trip. Take it out on an overnighter and just sort of test it out first. And always adjust your kit to the environment you're actually going to be walking in. And here's the kicker, even if the gear doesn't break and even if it fits, there's still a sneakier way it can trip you up. When gear doesn't fit you, literally and logically. Now, the next failure is believing good gear equals good fit. I've been caught out myself. Years ago, I bought a pair of big hardcore boots, and at the time, I was hiking all the time. I was a guide. I thought I knew exactly what I needed. So I wore them out on a trip with some friends. I think the first time I ever wore them. And within 45 minutes, I had blisters. And the rest of that trip was agony. And it's not just boots. I once had the most comfortable, waterproof pants I've ever owned. I love them so much, I bought 2 pairs. But I took them off track and both pairs got shredded on 2 different trips. That's when I realised comfort doesn't matter if the gear won't survive. These days, I go for tougher, less comfortable pants because they last. It's a bit like buying a sports car for a rocky farm road. Looks great on the highway, feels smooth at first, but the moment you hit rough ground, it all falls apart. And that's the real lesson. Fit, comfort and durability aren't the same thing. A piece of gear can be perfect in one setting and completely fail in another. Don't just go by the price tag or a 5-star review. Make sure your gear matches your body and the environment you're going to be walking in. But even if you get the fit and durability right, there's still one thing no review can prepare you for: when your gear fails when you're out in the wild. The experience gap. What gear reviews don't teach you. Now, gear videos tell you what to buy, but they don't show you how to keep walking when something breaks. 5 years ago, I was on a 9-day walk in a really remote area. On day 2, we were scrambling down what was basically a vertical forest cliff. Stuff was catching everywhere, and one of the guys behind us slipped. Now, he was safe, but when he landed, his pack buckle had snagged and ripped clean off. Gone. Couldn't find it anywhere. Now, here's the thing. Without a harness buckle, carrying a heavy pack for another 8 days off track, it's almost impossible. For a few minutes, panic set in. We were already looking at cannibalizing other buckles or holding the whole thing together with cord or rope. If we couldn't fix it, he'd either be crippled with pain or we could potentially have to turn back. And then I remembered I carry a spare buckle. I actually carry a spare buckle on every trip. So I pulled it out, swapped it in, and within 5 minutes, we were sorted. That's the difference experience makes. You don't just rely on gear, you prepare for when it fails. My repair kit is always in my pack. Got zip ties, got a bit of duct tape, some spare laces or a bit of cord I can use as laces or guy rope, a couple of tent patches, a tiny tube of super glue, and yes, a spare harness buckle, because I was on another trip once before where a buckle broke, and that was really hard. We didn't have a buckle. Carry one ever since. Depending on reviews alone is like trying to learn to swim by reading about it. You only discover what you're missing when you're thrown in the deep end. So test your gear before the big trips. Carry a small repair kit and always have a fallback plan, because when, not if, the gear fails, you'll be ready. So how do you build that kind of reliable setup without wasting years of money and frustration? Building a kit that works, not just looks good. Here's the smarter way. Let your trips shape your gear, not thumbnails or catalogues. It took me the best part of 10 years as a broke university student to piece together a proper kit. 1 year, a good jacket, the next, a sleeping bag, then a tent, eventually a pack. Borrowed gear, second-hand bargains, every item had to work because I couldn't afford mistakes. Like literally, I couldn't afford it with money. And that discipline gave me a kit that really lasted. Later on, when I had some money, I fell into the other trap, the upgrade cycle. Swapping sleeping pads to save 50 grams. Trying new sleep systems just because I could. Honestly, I probably spent more time weighing sleeping pads than actually sleeping on them. And those tiny weight savings rarely improved the trip. Most of the time, I'd have been better off training harder and carrying the extra 50 grams. And then I'd just end up adding in extra stuff to my pack anyway. Those days, they're gone. These days, I'm lucky. Testing gear is part of my job. But when I think back to those early years, that's when I made my best decisions. I'd read every article I could find. I'd talk to people who'd used the gear. I'd talk to people in stores. I'd weigh up all the options and ask myself, do I really need this or do I just want it? That mindset stopped me from making mistakes I couldn't afford. And honestly, it's still the best filter that I use today. Building a kit is like growing a garden. It takes time, patience, and trial and error. A little bit of trial and error. You can't just buy a perfect garden straight off the shelf. You've got to take your time. You've got to tinker around a bit. And here's how to build your kit smartly. Shakedown trips. Every overnight walk that you go on is a test. Note what you used, what failed, what stayed untouched. Overnight hikes are really a great testing ground just to go out with your gear, see what's working. Really need to. I'm going to do more overnight walks. I normally just go on these big missions. I'm going to do more overnight walks. I like them. Keep notes. A gear journal is gold. I just keep a little note in my phone and write down lessons while they're fresh. I even just dictate it into my phone these days and it all pops up in there. It's awesome. Simplify. Cut the excess. Don't upgrade unless there's a real reason. Comfort, durability, or safety. Test in bad conditions. Pitch tents in storms. Cook in the wind. Walk in the mud. That's where weaknesses show. And if you think the upgrade cycle is bad, wait until you see what's coming next. Gear companies are already selling the future. Heated jackets, smart clothing, newer ultralight fabrics, but are they really worth carrying? Future gear, hype versus reality. So from heated jackets to smart clothing and modular packs, gear companies love selling us the future. I've been offered heated jackets and gloves before. I even got sent some with battery packs built in, charging cables, all that. Sounds clever until you realise you're hauling a kilo of batteries around for 2 hours of heat. And when the battery dies, well, you're worse off than if you just lay it up properly. You're carrying all this extra weight. Like, that thing was ridiculous. I'm not going to take that hiking. It's heavy as. The gear I actually trust isn't futuristic at all. I've got a thermal base layer I've been using for the best part of 10 years. Still fantastic, still going strong. And more recently, I've been experimenting with mesh layers. I mean, they've been around for decades as well. They're nice in the right conditions, but I'm taking my time, testing them on short trips before committing to them for longer expeditions. But I think I'm going to go to mesh. Yeah, mesh. Mesh is where it's at. But I digress. And the mesh should be here for the long haul for me, I feel. Anyway, that's how I treat new gear. Slow adoption, real testing, then I decide if it earns its place. Here's how to think about new gear. Be curious, not naive. Test it, but don't assume it's essential. Weigh the trade-offs. Saving 50 grams isn't worth much if it leaves you cold at 2 a.m. when the battery dies. Respect real innovations. Dyneema fabrics, modular packs, they can be great, but only if they survive the conditions you actually walk in. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the jacket or the stove or the tent that gets you home. It's you. Gear is a tool. You are the engine. No piece of gear will save you. Skills, planning, and mindset will. Years ago, on a university trip, one of the group tried to pass his brand new pack down a steep cliff section. I turned the corner just in time to see it slip, bounce, and disappear into the valley below. In seconds, everything. Tent, stove, sleeping bag, rain gear, it was all gone. In the moment, it felt like an absolute disaster. But once once we calmed down, we made good decisions. We backtracked to the last campsite, pitched the tents that we still had, crammed in together, shared spare clothes and liners, and had a surprisingly great night. Next day, we walked out safely. That trip could have ended badly, but it didn't because we stayed calm, we improvised, and relied on experience, not equipment. Here's the truth. Having the best gear but no skills is like owning Ferrari without learning to drive. Looks great in the garage, but it won't get you home because you can't drive it. So always ask yourself, when, not if the gear fails, will you freeze or will you adapt? Gear is just a tool. Skills are the engine. A $1,000 tent is just a very expensive kite if you can't pitch it in a storm. And that's why the best upgrade you can make isn't from a shop, it's in yourself. And if you have your gear dialed in but still cart a ton of food, then check out this video up here next where I share 5 simple food tricks to lighten your load.